Yeah. It's a good thing I'm recording. Raymond's going to sing again.
It's the best cover I've heard of that song. It's also the only cover I've heard of that song.
All right, we're live on YouTube. Go ahead.
All right, we return now to open session at 7:06 p.m. Public report of action taken in closed session. The board has asked that Mr. Jackson and Ms. Agrawal meet with the executive director to review the performance evaluation. It's now time for the flag salute. Mr. Jackson, would you do this for us?
Oh, with pleasure.
Hold on, I got to get my flag. Okay.
Okay. Here we go. Ready? Face the flag and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, sir. Next up is public comment, oral communications, non-agenda items. The public, including public attending a teleconference location, are invited to address the board regarding items not listed on the agenda. No individual presentation shall be for more than 3 minutes, and the total time for this purpose shall not exceed 15 minutes. Ordinarily, the board members will not respond to presentations and no action can be taken. However, the board may give direction to staff following a presentation. Please turn in the request to address the Oppa Board of Directors form and submit it in order to address the Oxford Preparatory Academy Board of Directors. Do we have any comment cards?
We do not.
All right, we'll move on to the consent items, which are as follows. A, minutes from the regular meeting of the Oppa Board of Directors on November 19th, 2020. B, 2019-2021 revised Oppa salary schedule. C, the Oppa instructional aid behavioral intervention job description. D, the Oppa fiscal policies director job description. E, the December 2020 Oppa personnel report. It's recommended the board approve consent items A through E. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve consent items A through E.
And do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? This motion passes unanimously. Next up is items scheduled for presentation. Presentations are limited to 10 minutes. The first one is the Opa Audit Report for the year ending June 30, 2020. Vanessa Pineda, Christy White and Associates.
Vanessa, I'm going to make you a co-host.
Perfect, thank you.
There you go.
So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, just to have a short presentation for you guys.
Do you guys notice how smoothly Joseph reads? He's just like butter.
Are you admiring it now that after you've done it a couple times?
Oh my gosh, it's merciless.
I don't know what happened to Vanessa.
She thought we were going to make her read aloud this whole thing.
I think she kicked herself off.
Oh. She's not around anymore?
No, she shared her screen and then I think accidentally kicked herself off.
That happens.
Okay.
Joseph, could we move to the next item possibly?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if there's no objection, we'll just move on to the monthly financial reports with EdTech, and then we'll cycle back to Ms. Pineda. Ms. Parikh, would that work for you? Do we lose Ms. Parikh too?
We lost them both.
All right, this meeting is just moving.
I love it.
I swear they're not here anymore.
You're scaring people right off the Zoom meeting, man.
That's right. You run an efficient meeting here. Why don't we try Mr. Barley? Because
Mr. Barley's here because I run his PowerPoint, so we're good there.
I'm ready to go.
He's not scared.
All right. Mr. Barley, would you like to talk to us about the copier lease proposal?
I would love to do that tonight.
Thank you very much.
One
Right.
moment, let me share my screen.
Terrific. Thank you. So what we worked on is a proposal for copiers and printers to better meet the needs of Oppa now and going forward. Let's go to the next slide. And this is something that we'll have ready to go at the right time so that the executive director can sign off on it. Done the research and worked with actually the office manager, specifically Hadley Pakuda. I want to give some props to her for helping pretty significantly with this along the way. So the elements, we wanted to right size it for Oppa, pricing and customer service, meeting our current requirements. And then we really have much less reliance on paper these days, especially since we've gone virtual. We looked at 4 vendors over a period of many, many months, and they are listed there. The next slide, many different types of products as well. Some of the comparisons that we looked at was the length of the term of the agreements from 12 months to 39 months. Lease amounts were in that range, 1,220 to 1,700 for ostensibly the same types of equipment. The expense per page, this is for copiers I'm talking about now. You can see the expense there, the range, and then for color. What we're looking at the lender names also, because it's financed through a lender. Typically these leases are. So what we've done with regard to printers, so you're aware, next slide, please, Amy. Okay, so the recommendation for the copiers, for leasing copiers, is to have 2 at each site, school site. Toshiba makes the best sense based on our review. Major player, the headquarters are in Lake Forest, so right here where we are. Partnership would provide Oppa with maintenance support, economies, and flexibility within a 39-month lease. The pricing is good with the 39 months, and they actually came in on the lower end of the pricing and comparison spectrum, so we're happy with kind of where they're sitting to meet our needs. We asked for Oppa. I asked for mutual indemnification, no automatic renewal, for them to make changes to their clauses with regard to that, as well as favorable termination. They came back, we are considered a state and government contract. Okay, so that helps us as far as if there's a major change to our funding, it's tied to our ability to pay, all right? And then per page utilization expense that I mentioned, user counters we'll be using. So employees will have a counter, basically a code that they'll use. So we'll be able to set budgets as far as how much paper and really track our usage and manage that much more closely than we've ever been able to do before. So that's the copier side of the house. With printers, instead of leasing printers as Oppa has done in the past and currently, we have right sides, again, the numbers, bringing them down to really what's needed, and 22 total by site. Our tech team is planning on working on setting those up at the right time, and they really will save us money by bringing that in-house. Next slide. So what we're looking at with this proposal that we're asking the board to approve is the fixed cost per month is $1,237 per month. The variable cost, and this is an example, you pay for your pages used, black and white copies. So we had 50,000 copies black and white and 18,000, we just, some numbers we put out there. That's the amount that it would be. I don't even think that we'd be using that. You think about summer months, you think about times we really don't use copies or make copies. So, you know, that's just an example of what that would be for variable cost. And then again, we're gonna hold this for when we're ready to implement it sometime in 2021. Vendor packet is being finalized right now. It will be completed. I don't see any issues there. And then current equipment, of course, would be picked up so that we can make the change out. Any questions at all from any of the board members, please?
So what is this supposed to replace?
So right now we have 3 copiers at each school site, and we have over 30 printers in total at each at the sites. So we're right sizing it and really looking at our expenses, our outlay.
And presumably the other expenses would go away.
Correct. Yes. So we're working on making sure it's a seamless transaction so that we're able to make sure that our employees and that we have everything we need in order to operate.
Can I ask a question about your fixed cost versus your variable cost?
Yes. Please.
So the fixed cost is if doing business as usual, that we wouldn't go above 1237. But if we produce and use less, we would do a variable cost. Do we have that option, or is it we have to pick variable cost or fixed cost?
No, it's fixed cost per month plus variable cost. The fixed cost is for the machines themselves. Okay. All right. For the actual equipment. And the service that they provide, right? Okay, in case something needed service or breakdown or that kind of thing. The total cost is actually what we've had currently is a minimum number of pages that we've been paying for. Okay, so we're not going to pay minimum. We're going to do pay as you go. So this variable cost is the example of pay as you go, depending on what our usage is. So that variable cost will change every month based on usage.
So it'd be 1237 plus whatever our variable cost is.
Correct. You're exactly right. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions?
Any other questions from the board?
What's the other payment per month?
So it's fixed is for the machines themselves for copiers, and then the variable is based on usage. So it's your per page cost per black and white and color. So that's going to change month after month. And like I said, in the summer months, you really won't have usage, I wouldn't expect. So down closer to that 1237. But you know, taxes are added on, that kind of thing as well.
I have another question about how you're budgeting for the teachers. So is it, so as the kids get older, they use computers, et cetera.
Correct.
Will it change based on grade level?
Yeah, so what we've learned more recently, especially, is in the younger grades, there's more need for that tactile, right, and the paper as children are learning, as students are learning. And we see that about third grade or so, then it becomes much more electronic, like you're mentioning. So the budgets will be, you know, again, we'll learn as we go, but we'll try and set them realistically based on grade level. Absolutely.
So how do they, if they go over budget, are they able to get the paper copies that they need? How do you manage that? What's that?
So again, we'll learn as we go, right? And the principals will work with the Oppa staff so that it's, you know, reasonable, right? And then we're thinking about what things should and have to be copied, okay, and what things maybe there are other alternatives electronically. So as I said, we don't know exactly. We're going to set budgets that are reasonable, and then we'll adjust as we need to. So we're just trying to be mindful of our funds more than anything, and also save trees along the way.
Perfect. Thank you.
David.
Thank you.
All right, can we go back to Ms. Panita?
Yes, I made you co-host again.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Sorry about that, you guys. Technical issues, right? We don't have to deal with those in real life.
Always happens.
Okay, I'll go ahead and share my screen now. Okay, so just to introduce myself, my name is Vanessa Pineda. I am a director with Christie White Inc., and I will be presenting the Oxford Prep Academy Audit Report. So first, I'll just give you guys a small, very basic overview of our audit process. So first, we have 2 audits. So the first one is our interim audit phase, and this is typically during the springtime. We focus on internal controls and state compliance. For internal controls, we make sure to test design and effectiveness of controls and make sure that they're preventing, detecting, and correcting any of the misstatements due to error or fraud. We do this by reviewing receipts, disbursements, and payroll. And for state compliance, this is determined by the state audit guide. So if any of the programs or procedures apply to the charter, we go ahead and test those. During our year-end audit, which is the second phase of the audit, this normally occurs after the board approves the unaudited actuals. So that's typically during the fall time. And during this time, we focus on account balances through substantive procedures and then wrap up any state compliance that we need to complete. Next, I would just review what the responsibilities are for the charter and then the auditor. So the charter's responsibility is design and maintain effective internal controls, preparation and ownership of financial statements, prepare and manage the budget. Our responsibility as auditors is to provide an opinion and reasonable assurance that the financial statements are materially correct. And we conduct the audit in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted by the US and the standards applicable to government auditing standards. So first, I just provided a snapshot from the audit report of the statement of financial position. So this is where we go ahead and list out your assets, liabilities, and then your bottom line, so your net assets. In the second slide, I have the statement of activities. And again, here's just a snapshot from the audit report where we present the revenues and expenses by each of the different categories, and then what the change in that it was. So in this case, it was a positive, so revenues were greater than expenses. Next, which is probably the most important part of the audit report, is our opinion. So we provide two opinions, one on financial statements and one on state compliance. So our first opinion is on page 1, and you guys received the best opinion possible, which is unmodified opinion. And in our opinion, the financial statements are presented fairly, again, in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted by the USA. Next, I go ahead and mention page 27. So we consider internal controls over the financial reporting and planning and performing an audit. However, we do not express an opinion on the effectiveness of the charter's internal controls. So we use this as a part of our opinion for financial statements, but there's not an opinion directly for the internal controls.
Vanessa, your slides aren't moving forward.
Oh, sorry. Okay, that would have been helpful.
Sorry, I was trying to jump in, but you were on a roll.
Okay, here you go. So I'll go ahead and go through the just a quick. This is the snapshot again of the statement of financial position, so showing the assets and the liabilities. And then that's the statement of activities, again, the revenues and expenses, and then showing the bottom line. So your change in net assets, which was 1.9 million. And then this is the opinions I was talking about. So you guys received unmodified opinions, so best opinion possible. And this is our opinion over the financial statements. And then we consider internal controls over financial reporting in planning and performing our audit. However, we do not express an opinion on the effectiveness of the charter's internal controls. So we use this to determine our opinion on the financial statements. And then our second opinion is on state compliance. So this is unmodified opinion, again, best opinion possible. And then I went ahead and listed the different procedures and whether they were performed or not. So it depends if they're actually applicable to the charter, or sometimes it depends on the ADA for materiality. So in this case, we didn't test ACES, independent study course base, determination of funding for non-classroom based instruction, and charter school facility grant program. For non-classroom based instruction / independent study, for one of the charters, it was applicable as the ADA was material, but for the other one, it was not. So you will find this in page 29 and 30. And then lastly, so this is just a summary, and this is normally the page that everyone turns to in our audit report, which is page 31. And this provides the summary of all the audit results. So typically there's 3 different opinions. We provided 2 opinions as federal awards was not applicable. So we will only perform an audit if the expenditures are over 750,000. So again, financial statements and state awards, unmodified opinion, no material weaknesses were noted or significant deficiencies. And then lastly, we go ahead and review any findings from the prior year. So like I mentioned, you guys have a clean opinion. Sometimes you could still have a clean opinion and have findings, but in the case of the charter, there were no findings for this year. In the prior year, there was also no findings, so we didn't have anything to follow up on. And again, I wanted to extend my appreciation to the charter management team. They were definitely very helpful with the audit and getting used to this virtual audit world, and providing all those items electronically was definitely a hassle, but they were able to provide it quickly and smoothly. So again, just wanted to extend our appreciation. And then if the board has any questions for me, I'll go ahead and answer them right now.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions?
How often do you get audits that result in this kind of response? You know, where you're saying, what's
Where
this
there's no
level
findings?
again?
The unmodified opinion.
Yeah, how often is that? Is that 10%, 20%, 50%?
I would say unmodified opinion, they have to do something very, very, very bad, let's say, for them to change the opinion. But like I said, we still provide an unmodified opinion with findings. So I would say what we don't normally see is a charter that doesn't have any findings. So normally there's even a small item that might come up in the audit that we will include. So I would say what's more not very common is to have no findings. So I would definitely say 2 years in a row not having findings, that's very small percentage of our charters.
So what I hear you saying is that's a great thing.
You guys did a great job. Yeah, exactly.
I kind of want to hear Vanessa say that again. That
Yeah, you can keep repeating it.
Yeah, you guys know you guys are a great charter. So you guys make everything very smoothly. Like I said, the transition has been hard for some charters and getting used to this virtual world. So you guys did a great job. Thank you again.
I hear all of you fishing for compliments, but you have a hard copy of the summary you can look at whenever you need to feel good.
Exactly.
Thank you, Ms. Vanessa.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Vanessa.
All right. Let's see. Next up is the Oppa monthly financial reports with Ms. Parikh. Is she back?
He is.
All right.
He is also co-host right now.
All right.
Okay, so you can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to go over the October financials in this packet. So just starting with the first slide, we have for SOC, in terms of our year-end forecast, we previously had presented a $1.2 million operating income. We have adjusted the forecast based on information we've seen in October to result in a $36,000 lower forecast for the operating income, but still a very healthy operating income at about 1.18 million for this year. The biggest adjustment that we made was around compensation and benefits related to additional staffing positions that were added. This was offset with some savings for positions that we ultimately didn't end up filling that we had forecasted for. So overall, it netted to, we're anticipating about $46,000 increased cost in compensation and benefits. And then there were two smaller adjustments in terms of instructional program costs and contracted services. So we actually are seeing some savings in instructional program costs, about $18,000 for SOC, anticipating with the program that we're running right now, we're going to see some savings, particularly around not having the Taekwondo consultant, field trips, and uniforms. And then we also, that's offset slightly with some increased costs related to the instructional program on licenses needed for online curriculum and things like that. And then contracted services, we did see an $8K increase, which is primarily related to additional sanitizing service costs and a small increase in marketing. And for both of these categories, we flagged a lot of the expenses on check register slide, so the specific vendors were flagged there. And then for SV, we're seeing similar number, but just a different scale. So SV, we're projecting an operating income of $882,000. We're now projecting about $821,000, which is about $60,000 less than what we previously presented. The biggest area is around compensation and benefits, which is $61,000 increased forecasting cost. And then contracted services and instructional programs are the same as for SOC. The only exception here is with the special ed contract costs. We are forecasting an $8,000 increase in the cost based on the cost per day that we're seeing, and anticipating that for the year. So that's an increased cost of about $8,000 that we're anticipating for the year. And then in terms of our check and credit card registers slides, there are 2 pages this time. It just goes over a lot of these items were specific items that we had flagged in the review in the previous 2 slides. And then we put in the notes column, oftentimes the expenses weren't, the full check amount wasn't what it was budgeted. Most of it was budgeted, but there was a few areas where it increased past what we budgeted or the cost was higher. And so then we just flagged those dollar amounts there. So you can kind of see what we were flagging of the total check amount. So this slide has a few of those, and then the next slide goes over the other 5 items that we flagged, and most of these did result in adjustments to our forecast that we went over on the previous slides. Are there any questions on these items for the financials?
Any questions from the board?
Okay,
All
so
right.
I'll go over just, we wanted to just give you an update on the state budget and the state revenues as well, just to keep you in the loop of kind of what's being communicated at this point. At the end of October, basically the state was projecting a more optimistic outlook than what was in the budget. And so just as a reminder, K-12 education receives funding based off of how much revenue the state has. And so we get a portion of that. And so the state's revenue is beating projections by about 22%, mainly related to personal income tax, where the unemployment rate has been lower than what the state had budgeted for. The Department of Finance was projecting previously $26 billion better than budget is what they said that we were on track for the state. I know the governor came out just this week mentioning about 15 billion, which is lower than this projection by quite a bit. And so that kind of leads me to the next slide, which is to be cautious with the numbers. So even though the state is saying that we are doing better, there is a lot of uncertainty. You know, this is based on data through October, and we now have, stay-at-home orders and closures. And so there could definitely be potential for, this to completely change before the end of this school year. And so definitely being cautious, but there are a few areas that we could see adjusted if this trend continued, particularly this year, seeing potentially all or part of the deferrals canceled, and then for next year potentially seeing either a COLA, some one-time funding, or some of your STRS and PERS costs paid down, so you don't have as high of a rate. And so there are definitely some optimistic things if this continues, but we'll also have a better idea in January at the next board meeting. We'll be able to give you an update of the governor's preliminary budget for next year, and that will hopefully give us a better idea of kind of how the state's revenues are doing at that time, and how the state is planning for the coming year. So are there any questions on those items?
Any questions from the board? I'm not seeing any.
That was all I had.
All right, thank you very much. So we've done that. All right. We have our first interim reports. So you're still here, Ms. Brigg.
Yeah. So I can share my screen on those, but essentially these reports are due to both of your authorizers, and they're based on the financials I just presented. So the October financials, we submit the budget, the actuals through October, and then the forecast that I just went over. So overall, no flags. We're seeing positive operating income for the end of the year and strong fund balances. So the reports are just formatted differently to the way that we need to submit them to your authorizers for review.
All right, fantastic. Any questions or comments from the board on that? All right. I'm double checking before we dismiss, and we're all done. Thank you, Ms. Freak. Now, Dr. Amy, we're up for the Opa academic program update. Nice background.
I stole it from Raymond, but his is backwards.
Maybe he's looking in a mirror.
That's I I was just having a hard time reading backwards, so I had to do it forwards. All right. So here is the update for December 10th. I figured I would, since we're not going to have school site updates, I figured I would start with a little quick sliming of Jackie. But the one that is really good that I will full screen is Jackie sliming Garrett.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
What's Garrett wearing?
I have no idea what Garrett's wearing, but it looks like it is a good color for the sliming.
Is there a time when board members do that?
I'm gonna
I
request.
think Raymond's volunteering.
I was gonna say, I think the board could put it to a motion and pick one member.
I think Raymond's the man.
We're volunteering Raymond.
Yes,
down.
100%.
I'm down.
He looks
I'm gonna
cool.
say Raymond would have fought us if we didn't pick him, so.
Yeah, he would have been so upset.
True statement.
All right, it's not. good.
Isn't that what we do to new board members? I know we didn't talk about that, but
No, I think it's the
Oh,
oldest board members.
All right, now I have to flip back because it got stuck. Garrett made my screen stick, so I gotta start over. All right, so so like Carrie and Denise, or Miss Velez and Miss Alvarado did last month when they had their dunk tank, Mr. Bridges and Mrs. Merlette decided to get slimed because our students raised over $20,000 for their readathon at both sites. So, so really great cause. The students have really been doing a good job, and it was fun to see Garrett covered in slime. And then he said that he still has some slime in the middle of his back that he can't get to. So he's apparently very inflexible. So the next thing, I just want to go through a little bit about what's going on at the school sites other than slime. Report cards just came out this week, so they're available for parents to view in our Aries parent portal for trimester 1. They look a little different this year. It's because of the way we had to set up the schedule, and because we set up our schedule for virtual and hybrid learning as though we were a secondary school, we had to use the secondary report cards. So for parents who are looking at those, they look a little bit different, but they have exactly the same information. It's just formatted differently than it has been in the past. Coming up for winter break, we know we have a 3-week break, and we want everybody to relax and get some downtime, but it is 3 weeks. And so we did want to provide some enrichment activities for students who may want something to do. We're all kind of quarantined and stuck at home. So if parents are looking for things for their students to do, the teachers are going to be compiling some enrichment activities that students can do over the break. And those will be sent out or available to parents as we get closer to the break next week. We also have our 2 new intervention teachers at one at each site, and they have been working really hard since they came on board about 2 months ago, providing both small group and individual support to students. So we've put together a really good process for referring students for intervention. And because of our schedule and the flexibility within our schedule, they've been able to really start digging in and meeting with students and providing great intervention for students in all grade levels. We really focused at first on grades 3 through 5, and then math intervention for our middle school students. But we're now going down into those lower grades as well. So it's a great resource for us to have at each one of our sites. And then the teachers have some more social studies curriculum to look at this Friday. And then they're going to be picking which curriculum that they want to pilot in the spring so that we can get a much better social studies program than our 2008 reflections books that we have been using. We want to have it up to date, more interactive, more engaging for our students. So we're excited to be piloting social studies in the spring. And we really are continuing to improve our hybrid and virtual instruction. Continuing to look at best practices. New things are coming out about virtual learning and how to better provide virtual learning and hybrid learning. A lot of stakeholder input. We change things all the time, based on feedback from teachers and from parents, and then implementing new programs and strategies. Our teachers were really excited. We purchased a program called Pear Deck that a lot of them have been using during the free version over the last couple of months. It's a super engaging online program. And so now we have licenses for everybody for that. And so they're continuing to use that to engage their students as well as lots of other new programs. I'm sure that you guys have all seen in the news lately, the COVID-19 numbers are not good. And just like Raymond, who now apparently has a goatee, just grew it over the last 5 minutes, as he was saying earlier. The hospital, the number of available ICU beds is rapidly decreasing. So just over the last couple of days, we've seen several days where the case count in California was over 30,000. Here in Orange County, our ICU number, or number of available ICU beds, went down to just below 5% recently. Our positivity rate is up to 12%. So the numbers are going in the wrong direction. Currently, the stay-at-home order does not affect schools, and so schools are able to remain open even though there is a shutdown or a stay-at-home order happening everywhere else in the Southern California region. But these statistics and these numbers do affect our students and our families and our staff in regards to quarantining, having positive cases. They're affecting everyone, and so it does in a lot of ways affect our schools. Several districts have actually recently reverted back to 100% virtual learning or pushed back their reopening plans. It's kind of been all over the news about LAUSD. They stopped all of they had small cohort in-person instruction. They didn't have any or very many schools actually open, but they did have some small cohorts, and they shut that down and have made everything 100% virtual. Brea Olinda here in Orange County, they transitioned back to full distance learning through at least the end of January. La Habra City School District also transitioned back. Centralia transitioned back. Anaheim Union High School District pushed their reopening. They're not open yet, but they were supposed to open in January. They pushed it back until at least March. And then San Diego USD, who also was not open yet for most of their schools, pushed back their reopening, and they will be reassessing in January when they're going to actually reopen. So our school districts that are the closest to us are still remaining open for hybrid learning, but school districts all around are starting to revert back just based off of the numbers. However, state and local health officials have, cited that schools are safe if they're adhering to health and safety measures. So Oppa does do all of these things. We practice social distancing, face coverings, we have smaller class sizes. We do all of our contact tracing and notifications anytime that anyone is positive or has any close contact. And we do a lot of cleaning and disinfecting. So as of today, we've had no evidence of any student-to-student spread of COVID-19 on either school campus. And we haven't had any close contact exposures reported between students while on campus. But we have had some exposures between staff members and in our other organizations that are after school programs that do use our campuses. And so it is hitting closer to home. And we have had staff and students who have tested positive. So we do want to make sure that we're very mindful of what's going on and continue to make sure that we're practicing all of those strict health and safety protocols. So I just want to remind everyone, I can't do it enough to keep your students home if they show symptoms. We can easily switch them to virtual. There's a letter that the principals have that basically just flips all of their classes immediately. The teachers are aware. And it's very easy. So students aren't missing any instructional time if they do need to stay home to be sick, or if they do need to stay home when they're sick. If they can join the class, if they can't, then we will catch them up when they are able to. And just remember that students need to be symptom-free for 72 hours before returning to school. We want to make sure that students are fully recovered before they come back to school. We're strongly encouraging all families who choose to travel or attend family gatherings over the break to quarantine for 14 days before returning to any in-person learning. And we have required that all Oppa staff who choose to travel over break quarantine for 14 days before returning to in-person instruction. We want to make sure that all of our staff and students are safe and that no one is going to expose others, because a lot of times you can be contagious before you actually start showing symptoms, usually up to 2 days before you start showing symptoms. So we're going to continue to monitor the data as we always do and assess the impacts of these rising cases on the health and safety of our staff, I should say staff and students. As of now, we plan to remain open for in-person instruction, but there is always that possibility that we would need to revert to virtual learning based on increases in positive cases or other health and safety concerns. We will try to let parents and our community know well in advance if we do have to switch to virtual learning. But as happened when we had the fires over near Saddleback Valley, we know that we can switch to virtual very quickly if need be, and that it is a pretty seamless transition based on our schedule. We don't have to change student schedules. We don't have to have any missed instructional time. We can revert even within a couple of hours if we have to virtual learning. But again, we want to give families as much notice as possible if that is the case and we have to switch. So that's pretty much all I've got for tonight. Are there any questions?
Do you have any questions from the board? Okay.
So at this point, we are remaining hybrid.
We are remaining hybrid.
Okay, and I mean, we really only have 4 more days left of hybrid school anyways at this point, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
so I mean, it's very unlikely that we would have to revert to virtual before winter break because, like you said, there's only 4 days left. Most likely, if we were going to look at anything, it would be for when we return after winter break. And luckily, we have a 3-week break. So we have that week window that other schools don't, where we can make those decisions during that time and kind of see where things are and be able to let families know before we come back from break.
Wonderful.
All right, any other questions or comments from the board? All right, seeing none, we will say thank you, Dr. Kernan. and move on to board reports and comments. And we'll start at the far end of my Zoom window here. Ms. Travis.
Well, first off, I just want to congratulate everybody on getting the 7-year renewal for the charter at SV. That was no easy undertaking, and especially kudos to our admin team for kind of pushing that through and making it possible. Being the first one in the state to have that, I think it's pretty remarkable. Besides that, I'm very happy that we could be here tonight and that we're staying open and that we're able to take care of our staff and admin before the holidays. So it's just everything's going really good. So thank you all for all your hard work.
Thank you, Ms. Travis. Mr. Jackson, you are up next in my order.
Oh my gosh. Are we good to talk about 7-year renewal? It didn't really come up in the agenda yet, but yeah, that's I feel like this has been a long journey. And so it feels pretty incredible to be at this spot. And just like Delight said so well, so many folks, so many teachers, so many staff members, so many parents, so many administrators are to credit for this accomplishment. So great job. It feels incredible to be able to experience this with all of you. What a miraculous accomplishment. So thank you for everybody.
Absolutely, Mr. Jackson, no small accomplishment indeed. Ms. Agrawal, you're up next.
So I have a couple of comments. First is congratulations on the amazing audit. That was to have no findings and to do it 2 years in a row. Clearly, you guys have been doing a great job, and I am super proud to be part of an organization that has an audit like that, considering not only where we came from, but just as a standalone item. It's just incredible. And so I'm so grateful to all of you and all of your hard work. And then my second comment is thank you for all the hard work from going from virtual to hybrid to fires to hybrid to virtual potentially. I just appreciate how quickly the transitions are happening and how seamless it is for parents. I mean, it's not always going to be perfect, but I would tell you that for the majority of it, I think everyone is super happy, and we're just really appreciative for our children and as parents that we're part of an organization that can do that so well. So thank you. Thank you for, I know that's not, it looks easy because it's so seamless, but I know it's a lot of hard work. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Agrawal. So that brings it to me. And I would echo everything that everyone said. I've been on this board now for 3 years. And if you were to go back to 2017 and the condition we were in, and some of the early meetings that Mr. Jackson and I took with our authorizers, that we took with our teachers, that where we are now, the leadership that we have now, that was able to turn this ship around, that was able to steady it, that was able to get us the first 7-year renewal on a charter. There's too many people to thank, as people said, parents, teachers, students, who have been aggressive and supportive of these efforts. But I think we'd be remiss if we didn't thank Ms. Marks for walking into a ship that was we were beyond taking on water. I'm not sure what's
a little bit of a submarine, I think.
Yeah. And steadying us and getting us right. Really today is, this December meeting is a lot different than the December meeting we had in 2017. And we're in a good spot. We have a remarkable team. We have a remarkable board. We have remarkable teachers and students and parents, which we've always known. Which is why it's really hard for me to say this, but it's next month will be my last meeting as a member of the board of directors. So it's not goodbye until next month, but I feel like now's a good time to do it. this organization's in phenomenal hands. Phenomenal leaders, phenomenal stakeholders, phenomenal relationships between our leaders and stakeholders. And so it feels like it's the right time to do that. So that is my comment. I'll say goodbyes to everybody later, but that's, I didn't write anything because I didn't want to prattle on, and I've already prattled on. So that said, we are now done with comments from the board, and we'll go to the executive director.
Oh, wow. I followed that. Well, good evening. I want to thank our school community for working together so incredibly well, navigating these challenging circumstances, and to continue to provide our students with high quality academic instruction and student support. I mean, parents, families, board members, staff, administrators, you've kept the focus on what is best for students and have used creative ways to encourage students to use their talents and interests in both virtual and hybrid environments. And after a restful winter break and holiday season, we can look forward to the promise of the next year, the new year, and continue to discover and apply innovative ways that will prepare our students to learn and to grow. Please continue to take precautions and stay healthy. Let's stay strong and resilient, and take pride in our accomplishments. Some of we've been able to talk about and celebrate tonight. The enormity of it still hasn't really sunk in, to tell you the truth, but the accomplishments have been tremendous. And we always do what's best for children. There's lip service to that. That's what other schools say. That's what districts say. That's what educators say. But this is what we do here. And this is behind the results and the outcomes that we've achieved and will continue to achieve. So so thank you for coming and working in this community together with such integrity, because that's what makes the difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marks. All right. Let's see. We've had our board reports. We've had our executive director reports. It's now time to take some action. So the first up is to appoint Mr. Paul Kagu, I hope I pronounced that right since I missed the interviews, to the Oppa Board of Directors. Is Mr. Kagu here?
Yes, I am.
Oh, there we go. Perfect. So it's an Oppa tradition. I don't know if it's in our bylaws or what it is, for a prospective board member to introduce themselves to the community, sort of as a forever let them hold their peace. We're not looking for a little more than name, rank, and serial number, but I don't need to know what you got on your 5th birthday. Just introduce yourself with your elevator pitch, and then we'll take it from there.
And I will interject that we did do that in the last board meeting.
Oh, then that's what I get for being.
To hear Paul reintroduce himself.
Oh, that's what I get for being sick then. All right, Paul, Mr. Kagu, I will, and am I pronouncing your last name correctly? Okay, fantastic.
Yes, you are. Yes,
All
you
right.
are. Keep it.
All right, fantastic. I'm going to then take that back. Do we have any comments on this matter?
We do not.
Okay, so it is recommended that the board appoint Mr. Kagu to the board of directors. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve Mr. Paul Kagu to the Oppa Board of Directors.
And do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All right, is there any discussion by the board on this point? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and put this to a vote. All those in favor of approving action item A, appointing Mr. Paul Kagu to the board of directors, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, this motion passes unanimously. Mr. Kagu, you are a very blessed individual to begin this journey with this board. All right, next up is
Get to work. Get to work.
yeah. We'll
Yeah. Does
get you-
that mean I can start voting now, or is it only next meeting?
next meeting, but we got a courier coming over with a few bankers boxes of information for you to read. All right. Next up is B, appoint Dr. Amy Smith to the Oppa Board of Directors. It is recommended that the board approve action item B. Is Dr. Smith on the Zoom call?
She is.
All
Hi,
right.
good evening.
We got a voice. I'm not going to screw up here and suggest the elevator pitch since that was already done. It is recommended that the board approve action item B. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion
To
to appoint Dr. Amy Smith to the board.
all right. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on this?
Let's get to work.
All right. I agree, Mr. Jackson. All those in favor of approving action item B, appointing Dr. Amy Smith to the OPA Board of Directors, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? This motion passes unanimously. Welcome to the board, Dr. Smith. You will not serve with finer people in any other capacity in your professional life or otherwise.
Yay, welcome Amy and Paul.
And that's-
Welcome.
Yeah, that's not just me blowing sunshine. These are phenomenal people that you are going to have the privilege of working with. All right. Next up is C, approve the 2019-2020 OPA Audit Report for the year ended June 30, 2020. The audit report must be filed with the CDE, the State Controller's Office, SCO, the local county superintendent of schools, and, if applicable, the chartering entity by December 15 of each year. It is recommended the board approve action item C. Do I have a motion?
I make the motion to approve action item C.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on this point? Seeing none. All those in favor of approving action item D, say aye.
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 Those opposed? This motion passes unanimously. Next up is E, the approve the 2020-2021 OPA South Orange First Interim Report. Charter schools are required by the Education Code Section 47604.33, Assembly Bill 1137, Chapter 892, Statutes of 2003, to submit budgets and interim reports to their chartering agency for review. It is recommended that the board approve action item E.
They're actually on D.
D.
We
D.
skipped D.
Oh, I skipped D?
Yeah.
Can we do E and go back to? Okay, we'll do D. Approve the 2020-2021 OPA Saddleback Valley First Interim Report. Charter schools are required by Education Code Section 47604.33, Assembly Bill 1137, Chapter 892, Statutes of 2003 to submit budgets with interim reports to their chartering agency for review. As recommended, we approve action item D. Do I have a motion?
I make the motion to approve action item D.
Beautiful. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions or comments on action item D?
Nope.
Okay. All those in favor of approving action item D, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? This motion passes unanimously. Next up is E, which I've already read. Do I have a motion to approve action item D? E. D, E. E. D. This is why we used to get cups of coffee before the game, before we do this, right? Okay. All right. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay. Thank you. All those, any questions or comments from the board on action item E?
None.
All right. All those in favor of action item E, say aye.
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 Those opposed? This motion passes unanimously.
May I ask who made the motion, please?
It was me.
Thank you. Okay, gotcha.
All right. Next up is F, approve step increases for eligible OPA employees based on the 2019-2021 salary schedule. On June 25th, 2020, the OPA Board of Directors approved the 2020-2021 budgets for OPA Saddleback Valley and OPA South Orange County, which included a step freeze to the salary schedule for all OPA employees. In light of increased funding since that time due to learning loss mitigation funding, as well as additional funding for growth, it is now recommended that the Board of Directors remove the step freeze and reinstate step increases. This change would be reflected in the December 30, 2020 paycheck for all eligible OPA employees. It is recommended the board approve action item F.
I make a motion to approve action item F.
I appreciate that enthusiasm. Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
Beautiful. Any discussion on this?
I was on mute, but I was going to say it first, just so you know.
Duly noted.
Gotta be quick.
Gotta be quick. Can't use that mute button.
Delight got me.
All right. Any questions or comments about this? I would just add that I appreciate tremendously the stewardship of our leadership in managing our finances, that we're in a position to do this. This has been I don't want to say anything inappropriate, but it's been a rough year. And to be able to end the year getting this back for our eligible employees is a very small token of appreciation for you. And again, I appreciate the leadership for managing our finances in a way that this is an option for us now. All right, all those in favor of approving action item F, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, this motion passes unanimously. Next up is G, approval of copier leases. Oppa will enter into a 39-month lease agreement with Toshiba for 2 copiers at each school site. Fixed costs are $1,237 per month, and variable print costs are 0.00650B/W, that'd be assumed black and white, and 0.04450 colored per page. With decreased usage of printed materials, this cost-effective approach is expected to meet school requirements during the lease period. It's recommended the board approve action item G. Do I have a motion at this time?
I make a motion to approve the lease.
Okay. And do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion by the board?
David, this lease is going to take effect when it gets executed, not right now, right? So we're approving the lease at the time that it becomes needed, not today.
Yes, this is an approval in advance, and the executive director would sign the lease accordingly when it's needed.
Okay, so do I need to amend my motion to approve the advanced approval of the lease with the executive director to execute the lease at the time it becomes necessary?
I think that would be wise. We expect it to be in 2021, effective in 2021.
Okay, great. So Jill, can you write that down in your perfect way? That I made that motion to advance approve that for you to execute the agreement in 2021 when we need those copiers to become available to us on the sites?
I second that.
You have to say it.
I second that we will approve
Just
the
kidding.
copiers.
All right. All in favor of approving what Raymond said, as seconded by Ms. Travis?
Yay.
Say aye.
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 Those opposed, this motion passes unanimously. Next up is H, approve the Oppa Saddleback Valley Lcff budget overview for parents. For 2020-2021, local governing boards or governing bodies are required to adopt and submit the budget overview for parents on or before December 15th, 2020, in conjunction with the LEA's first interim budget report. Senate Bill SB 98 added EC Section 43509, which changed the adoption date for the budget overview for parents for the 2020-2021 school year. It is recommended the board approve action item H. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve action item H.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any questions or comments or discussion from the board? Any interesting tidbits they'd like to share? No? All right. All those in favor of approving action item H, say aye.
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 Those opposed? This motion passes unanimously. Up next is I, approve the Oppa South Orange County Lcff budget overview for parents. For 2020-21, local governing boards or governing bodies are required to adopt and submit the budget overview for parents on or before December 15th, 2020, in conjunction with the LEA's first interim budget report. Senate Bill SB 98 added EC Section 43509, which changed the adoption date for the budget overview for parents for the 2020-21 school year. It's recommended the board approve action item I. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve action item I?
I make a motion to approve action item I.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, any questions, comments, or discussion? Okay, all those in favor of action item I, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? This motion passes unanimously. Last up before our favorite is J, approve the agreement between Orange County Department of Education and Oxford Preparatory Academy for the operation of Oxford Preparatory Academy Charter School July 21, 2021 through June 30, 2028. I feel like we should have trumpets go off or confetti falling or hats for this. But I'll just take an approval. All those
I make a motion.
Wait.
Oh, Raymond, you snooze, you lose, man.
I
Who would
make
like
a
to second
motion
that?
to approve the agreement between the Orange County Department of Education and Oxford Academy, Saddleback Valley for the operation of Oxford Preparatory Academy Charter School, July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2028.
8.
The way that sounds. Who would like to second that?
Go ahead, Denelli.
Well, I feel like you should do that one.
I'll third it.
Okay, I second the motion.
I third it.
All right, that's now a thing. Any questions, comments, or discussion on this?
Oh my gosh, how exciting.
Yeah,
Yep.
congratulations. Amazing work.
I would just like to add to this the tremendous gratitude to OCDE for working with us over the years. I mean, starting with Kelly and now with Araceli and her team, the board. They have been remarkably supportive of us. They have shared wisdom with us. They have had tremendous patience with us. And we have tried as a board to show our appreciation for that by acting in the best way possible. And we appreciate them recognizing the work that everybody here and all those that have gone before us put in to get us to this point. So to everybody over there at the Orange County Department of Education, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Here.
All right. All those in favor of approving action item J say aye.
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 Those opposed? Nobody is going to want to oppose this. This passes unanimously. Again, fireworks, confetti, party hats, trumpets. Last up is adjournment. It is recommended that the board adjourn the regular meeting of the Oxford Preparatory Academy Board of Directors on December 10, 2020. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion
Beautiful. And is it to adjourn?
to adjourn, please.
Lovely. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Paul, Amy, excited to work with you for 1 month and see you at our meeting. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that passes unanimously as well. We are adjourned at 8:12, everybody. If we don't talk, have a lovely